up, guys? It is John from Side Hustle Experiments. In today's video, we're going to cover how much I spent on inventory in July. I spent over $25,000. I'm going to break down how I spent that money, really what drove me to hit this goal. A lot of the times I was like, I want to spend $1,000 a day. And then I never hit the goal in prior months. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I did to change that and kind of hold me more accountable. The categories, how I was even able to spend this much money, I really did not think it was possible. And I'm going to break down some other things for you. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm a six-figure Amazon seller doing online arbitrage, showing you guys how to make money doing online arbitrage on Amazon. Please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. It really helps and it would mean a lot to me. So let's just get into it. I spent $25,000 on inventory. The number, actually I'm looking up, it was $25,871.43. Purchased it was 1,184 items. About $21.85 per item was the average. I like to stay above 20. Was there stuff that I bought that was a little below 20? Of course, that's just an average. But for the most part, I like higher priced items just because not a lot of other people can buy higher priced items, especially if you're just starting out. It could be scary. Returns can be a nightmare. But for the most part, I haven't really had that much trouble with it. So the spend goal was $30,000. I did fall short of that. One of the main reasons is because I really closed out books for good. So I still have a little bit stuff to do for that. But the most I spent was $2,895. That was the highest I spent on a day. And the average spend per day was about $834. So let's just go in reverse order. So what categories was I spending this on? So most of the categories, it was beauty, grocery, and apparel. Those were kind of the three main ones. Those are the categories I actually really like. Also media. Media was definitely up there. So those are pretty much the four main categories I sell in. Apparel, definitely more heavy than the other ones, but definitely trying to get more into beauty. Not really so much grocery. It's a lot lower on the ASP stuff. So those are the three categories. One of the biggest drivers that allowed me to spend this much money were sales. So a lot of the times I kind of shied away from sales at first because I thought everyone would basically be shopping the same sales. And while that is the case, I haven't really seen a ton of price tanking based on the items I bought. A lot of this stuff was manually sourced too. So I wasn't running like scams and tactical arbitrage or stuff like that. It was more either me or the VA. We're going to the websites. We're looking product by product using SellerAmp, which is a great tool. If you want a free trial, there'll be a link down below for that. I have also videos on it, but really hitting the sales and hitting them hard. So before I would just be like, oh, I spent my $1,000 for the day, like I'm done. This month, I really just spent as much as I could and as much profitable inventory that day. I wasn't saying, oh, like maybe tomorrow I'll spend another $1,000 or whatever. I was like, this is here now. I'm going to buy it right now. And there were some items that I bought, I don't know, maybe 10 of, and I was like, I should get another 10. And they were already sold out, which kind of sucks. But on the flip side of that, it's also good to know that it's still not live because obviously there will be a cap on how much people were able to buy. So yeah, sales were a bigger driver for me. And one of the biggest tips that got me through the sales is going through things that I've already sold. So basically there were some really big apparel sales. So what I do, I went through all the apparel items I have bought in the past and went to see if that site had that item and if it was at the discounted price. A lot of the times it was. Another thing that I learned is coupon stacking. I never really learned this. I actually never really thought to think of this, but there was one site that was having a huge sale and site wide pretty much. And I went to the clearance section on the website, and the discount was also allowed to be used on the clearance. So I was getting things for 60, 50, 60% off on in some cases. So in cases like that, it was just kind of crazy. So that made it much, much easier for me to spend on profitable items. Number kind of three was we used a lot of coupon codes. So basically, the VA has been using a plugin called Honey. There's another one. I think it's Capital One Shopping. But basically, when you're in the checking out, basically it just automatically applies all these codes, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. It really depends. But we were able to find a whole bunch that work. So we're saving those and going to see if they work in the future. Some are just one-time codes, some are promotions, but it really, really helps if you could just knock 10 to 15 off. And it was especially great. There were just some products that were already profitable. And then when you go to check out, it's like, hey, we just saved you 10%, 15%. So that was really helpful and well in pushing this along. And then I think one of the biggest drivers, I'm going to save the one for last, that really, really helped push me through. And that was having a catalog now of profitable items. So by this point, I probably have bought about 400-ish unique items that are profitable. So some of these items come into profit and then they fall out of profit. So some of the ones that fall out of profit, I went back, looked for them, and sure enough, they are still profitable. The seller count drops. If you look at some Keep It charts, you'll see they go up, and then they go down, and then up, down. And so there is definitely a pattern, though. So basically, and you want to be buying at the bottom of this. So it's like there's 30 sellers, and then it's like 40, 50. Everyone gets nervous. The price basically tanks. The seller count goes down, and people are like, I'm not buying that anymore. Well, I went back to a lot of those listings, found out that basically it's way at the bottom. So I bought in some of those categories. So that was great. The VA now, he's submitted almost close to 500 leads. Not all of them are good, but there are some where I'm like, I don't like this lead, the Keep It chart. It looks like too many people are coming on. The price is going down. But again, like a lot of people dropped off that listing. The price is now back up. So I bought some of that stuff. So that was big. But the absolute biggest thing that really drove this home for me was a spreadsheet. So, or a Google Doc rather. So I basically just had a column I'm looking at now. It was the date, then it was the items purchased, money spent. It was all that. And then to the right side, I probably should have showed a visual of this, but it just had a tally of items bought, total spent. And then the key part of this was how far away am I from the spend goal? So having to enter this every day and seeing how far away I actually was definitely really motivating, because I'm like, oh man, like I gotta get going. Or on a day where I spent like the $2,800, I'm like, let's go. Like I took a big chunk out of that. So it became really motivating to get that number down as much as I could in a given day. Instead of being like, I have to spend $1,000 every day. I've kind of learned that that's not super practical and maybe not the best advice. Yes, it's good to hit a spend goal, but maybe you want to look at it weekly or even monthly. I know I've talked about this in other videos. But for example, today I am going away for the weekend. So my goal today is to spend about $3,000 or $4,000, since I won't be spending any money over the weekend and just kind of relaxing. So it's really nice to not be like, oh, if I don't spend it today, it doesn't really matter. Like I said, you could play catch up. You can basically do whatever. you want, but I've definitely found it helpful. You know, if you're buying profitable inventory, if it's on sale, like take advantage of this. Obviously, a lot of the items that I am buying, I have bought in the past, and I'm very familiar with them, how they sell. I've been able to see how quickly I've been able to sell through it, the return rates. I'm looking in inventory labs, so whenever I find a new ASIN and I've bought it before, I want to see if it was returned a lot, how much money I actually made on it. I mean, there are some things where you put in, you're like, oh, I'm going to make 40% on this. This is awesome. But people come on the listing, you reprice it, all this stuff happens, and maybe you're only making like 10%, 15%, and you're like, I'd rather buy some other stuff besides this. So I like to do that. Or you could even just go into Seller Central. If you type in the ASIN, you could click on your actual SKU, and it'll bring up an Amazon chart, and it will show you how many you've sold, how quickly you sold through it. That's also a very good indicator. Basically, if I sent in 10, and literally as soon as they hit the warehouse, if all 10 sold within 2 days, I'm like, okay, like I'm definitely gonna buy 20 this time around. And that was another big thing too, outside of the spreadsheet. A lot of the stuff I bought, I tested. All those products worked out really good. So now it's time to kind of double down on them, make a play. How many do I think I could sell? And kind of go from there. So overall, it was a great month. Like I said, spent $25,000. I definitely probably want to shoot for 40 this month. This should be a very good month of August. It's back to school. I've finally freed up all that inventory from the crappy prep center, Tiger Lily. Still missing about $2,000, but they sent a majority of it, the 8,000. Some stuff is missing according to Amazon from the boxes. So still working through that. But for the most part, a lot of it is getting in. The new prep center has been really awesome. They're sending out 2 or 3 shipments per week. They're sending out smaller ones, but I'm okay with it because as I move up, those shipments will get bigger. And I have found that check-in times are much quicker for the smaller shipments, just based on what I'm seeing. So I'm okay with that because the faster I sell, the quicker I get the money back, the more I could spend. So that is kind of how I was able to spend the $25K this month on inventory. Let me know in the comments, how much did you spend? What do you think was the biggest driver of your spending? And kind of how are you going to do this month? I'd love to know. And as always, if you have any questions or have any video requests, leave them in the comments. I will respond to every single one. And I will see you guys in the next video.